Megachurches, once symbols of religious influence and community, are facing unprecedented challenges. Massive auditoriums, once overflowing with congregants, now show rows of empty seats. The experience that once felt seamless, lights, cameras, music, and volunteers guiding thousands, remains operational, yet something intangible has shifted. It's not scandal or a single event that has caused this change. Attendance patterns are transforming, revealing deeper cultural, technological, and societal forces at work. The story of these churches isn't just about buildings or leaders, it's about the evolution of faith, trust, and community in a post-pandemic world. The rise of the megachurch model. For decades, megachurches perfected a model designed to attract and retain large congregations. Polished services, short sermons, clear takeaways, and high-quality media created a compelling, repeatable experience. Across America, churches adopted similar blueprints: expansive auditoriums, professional branding, and media-driven engagement. These systems promised simplicity and accessibility, drawing people who might not have otherwise attended church. Growth was measured by attendance and expansion, and success seemed automatic. Leaders were lauded for the crowds they gathered, but few questioned whether the system cultivated genuine spiritual depth or merely created an effective framework for attracting large audiences. When numbers became the goal, the very success of megachurches introduced blind spots. Weekly attendance became the scoreboard, and full seats became synonymous with spiritual health. The focus on size and scale overshadowed deeper questions about spiritual growth. Crowds were celebrated, but individual transformation was rarely measured. This system created a powerful machine, attractive, efficient, and seemingly unshakable, but it also fostered dependency. Attendees often relied on the weekend service for spiritual nourishment rather than cultivating personal, self-sustaining faith. In many ways, the megachurch became more of an experience-based entertainment system than a tool for deep spiritual development. Willow Creek's wake-up call. Years before empty rows became common, Willow Creek Community Church took an unusual step: self-assessment. The church, a model of modern growth, surveyed thousands of members to measure whether high attendance equated to spiritual transformation. Results revealed discomforting truths. Active involvement did not guarantee depth of faith. Members served, attended, and participated, but often felt spiritually stagnant. Leaders realized that the system excelled at gathering crowds, but struggled to foster independent, self-sustaining spiritual growth. They publicly acknowledged the issue, recognizing the need for a model that equipped people with tools for personal development rather than relying solely on experiences delivered on Sunday. The pandemic exposes vulnerabilities. March 2020 marked a turning point. Churches across the nation closed their doors, halting in-person gatherings. For mega churches, the immediate response was to pivot to digital platforms, streaming services, multi-camera setups, and online giving. At first, engagement seemed strong, with digital attendance surging. Leaders assumed that in-person attendance would return once restrictions lifted. However, the absence of shared physical space exposed weaknesses in the system. Congregants discovered the convenience of online access and began reevaluating the need to attend physically, revealing that the dependence on spectacle and environment may have masked underlying vulnerabilities for years. The digital shift technology transformed access to sermons and religious content, democratizing what was once controlled by large institutions. Congregants could now engage with faith from home, accessing messages from anywhere. The megachurch advantage, scale, production, and reach was leveled by digital platforms. The unique appeal of physical presence diminished as online streams and short clips reached global audiences. While in-person seats emptied, online reach expanded dramatically. The shift was paradoxical. Churches were simultaneously shrinking in physical presence and growing in digital influence. Faith itself did not vanish. It was adapting to a world where geography and physical attendance were no longer primary determinants of spiritual engagement. trust and leadership challenges. The reliance on strong, visible leaders created another tension. Scandals, moral failures, and leadership transitions eroded trust in megachurches. Founder-led systems struggled to maintain continuity, and public missteps often led to attendance declines. Even minor controversies could amplify skepticism. Across society, trust in large institutions, religious, corporate, or political, declined, particularly among younger generations. The perception of distance between leaders and congregants amplified this effect. As faith became more personal and individualized, large-scale structures felt increasingly optional. Congregants sought communities where trust, transparency, and accountability felt authentic rather than manufactured. Cultural and generational shifts. Younger generations brought a cultural recalibration to religious participation. Surveys consistently showed declining weekly attendance in the United States over decades, but belief in God remained relatively steady. For many, the issue was no longer faith itself, but structure, access, and authenticity. Smaller congregations, house gatherings, and hybrid online/in-person communities grew in appeal. Megachurches, designed for scale and broad appeal, sometimes struggled to connect with individuals seeking intimacy, participation, and personalized spiritual development. The tension highlighted a shift from centralized authority to decentralized, flexible faith practices, where meaning could exist outside the walls of traditional institutions. Politics and polarization. Another force influencing attendance was politics. Churches increasingly intersected with national debates, drawing members away either because leaders spoke too strongly or remained silent on issues. The megachurch model, which emphasized broad appeal and inclusivity, was vulnerable in a polarized environment. Unity fractured as congregants questioned alignment with their values. Political pressures exposed the limits of the traditional model, revealing that simplicity and scale could not insulate churches from societal turbulence. The combination of political entanglement, generational change, and digital access amplified the challenges facing megachurches, accelerating the transformation of religious engagement. Access and the end of scarcity. Technology reshaped perception of scarcity. Sermons and religious teaching were once limited by geography, but digital platforms removed those barriers. Messages that once required physical attendance became universally accessible online. Congregants no longer needed to travel or belong to a particular church to access high-quality spiritual content. The traditional advantages of megachurches, scale, reach, and production, were no longer unique. With abundance and choice, physical size became less meaningful. The model shifted from controlling audiences to serving them wherever they were, reframing the definition of influence from filling chairs to reaching hearts across screens. Influence beyond the building. Despite emptier sanctuaries, digital influence flourished. Messages streamed online reached millions, often far beyond the local congregation. Clips circulated on social media, spreading content globally. Leaders like Joel Osteen continued to maintain influence, with books, broadcasts, and online presence reaching international audiences. Physical attendance no longer fully represented impact. Megachurches evolved into hybrid platforms, where traditional gatherings complemented a broader media strategy. This shift highlights a key insight. Influence is increasingly measured not by presence in a physical space, but by reach, engagement, and resonance in a decentralized, digitally connected world. From gathering place to platform, the megachurch model is not necessarily in decline, but undergoing transformation. From massive arenas to media-driven platforms, these institutions are mutating. Physical presence is no longer the primary metric. Digital networks now define scale and influence. Smaller communities, hybrid models, and house gatherings are flourishing, while megachurches adapt to maintain relevance. The center of gravity has shifted from the stage to the screen, from local congregation to global audience. Traditional measurements, attendance, square footage, and visibility matter less than engagement, trust, and the ability to equip people in flexible, accessible ways that align with modern cultural expectations. Conclusion: the future of faith. Engagement megachurches once epitomized the peak of religious centralization. Big vision, big buildings, and big personalities. Today, they illustrate a new reality. Influence can extend far beyond physical walls. Empty seats may suggest decline, but online reach tells another story. Faith is decentralizing. Participation is more individualized, and technology enables engagement anywhere. The challenge for megachurches is no longer simply attracting crowds, it's sustaining meaningful impact in a world where scale is no longer unique. The future of faith may not reside in arenas, but in adaptable, accessible platforms capable of reaching hearts wherever they are.